Welcome to another session of Soul Therapy Live. I am your host, the Diggy Diggy Doctor. Dr. Dre is in the house. Not the rich version. I'm the poor man's Dr. Dre. The poor man's Dr. Dre. But seriously speaking, my name is Pastor Andre Martin, and I'm the pastor of Divine Truth Christian Center. And I'm here with my co-host, Boogie, aka Amir, aka what else you got?
Let's see, we got aka Amir, we got aka Ben, we got aka Benjamin, aka I'm just joking,
Benjamin, I like that one. I actually like that one. That was kind of fresh. Did you know I actually had to get a new license plate tag today, and it was gonna be called Dr. Dre 75, but then it didn't work out too good. And so I finally landed on, and I just got it today. It's called Octane. That's gonna be my license plate tag.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, you're moving in these streets.
Yeah, I'm gonna be moving, man. I'm gonna have to probably change it now because I done told everybody what it was. But I think that's good. That's accountability in these streets, right? Yeah. So welcome everybody to Soul Therapy Live. Myself as well as Amir are going to be talking to you about topics, current events and things that's going on in our nation, in our city. We like to do local things, and we also like to do things that are here in the Central Florida area. First of all, what I want to do is that I want to let everybody know that God loves you and He has a wonderful plan for your life. But sometimes life throws different types of curveballs at you. It throws things at you that may not seem like they fit in. Sometimes it has you kind of like out of sorts a little bit. So we're going to talk through those things on this wonderful evening. And so I got a quick scripture of the day before we get started. And it is going to come out of the Bible. Ain't that a coincidence, right? So it's going to come out of the Bible. And it's called Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. And it's in the New King James Version. It says, "But seek ye first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things, the things that you want and need from God, will be added to you in due time." Once again, Matthew 6:33, "But seek first the kingdom of God and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you." So again, everybody, welcome. We have a couple of topics, and we also have some sponsors that we want to talk through for the evening. The very first sponsor is going to be Divine Truth Christian Center. We're located at 350 Anchor Road, Suite 1050 in the beautiful city of Castleberry, Florida. Our service times are 10:30 a.m. on Sunday mornings, and it's also on Wednesday nights. We have Bible study at 7 o'clock p.m. on second and fourth Sundays. Second and fourth Wednesdays. And on our first Wednesday, we have our podcast. And our third Wednesday, we also will have My Time with God. So if you're looking for a church home, come check us out. How I am on the podcast is how I am pretty much all of the time, and then some, right? Right. And then second of all, we also have Truth Learning Academy. You could go ahead and cut the music off. We also have Truth Learning Academy as well. Truth Learning Academy is also one of our businesses that we have here in the ministry. So if you're looking for daycare, infant care, pre-K, summer camp, which we will be having Camp Vision again in 2023. Woohoo! I'm so happy about that. If you're looking for a place for the kids, a place that teaches the Word of God and has a great influence, a positive influence in the community and the like, then definitely check us out. We're also located here at 350 Anchor Road, Suite 1050 in the beautiful city of Castleberry. For those of you that probably are watching and driving by and wonder what's going on in our parking lot is, I would say, 95 or 90% done. And so we're putting in the parking lot has been repaved. We're almost there, and we're also getting a wonderful gate. It may not seem like it's a lot to everybody else, but it means a lot to me, especially everybody who had to push it and pull it. Somebody could say amen. Al could say amen. My back, Al will leave real fast and be like, "I didn't know I had to close the gate." and so a quick shout out for those things. So again, shout out to DTCC family, my DTCC family, and also Truth Learning Academy, where your light will shine bright. So now let's go ahead and move to our second section, which is wave after wave. And so in our wave after wave section, this part is going to be extremely important, especially as we move forward, because we got a whole lot of topics that we need to touch on. And so if you are watching online, and you're one of our guests online, please feel free to chime in. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my Facebook page just to make sure that if there's any type of questions that's coming from the back, front, back, or side to side, you saw what I did there, right? If there's any questions, make sure that you go ahead and let us know, and then we'll try to answer those questions as best as possible. Yeah, man. And so share to your pages, share both near and far. We got a lot of things that we're going to be talking about. Some of the graphics, things that you see on the screen as well. And so the very first thing that we are going to talk and discuss about is Deion Sanders. Everybody knows Deion Sanders, so you should know Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders is what I would call, there's a great argument that he is the greatest cornerback in the NFL. The GOAT in regards to cornerback, because some people would even argue that he was a better athlete than Bo Jackson. Now, I don't know if I would go that far, because that's a pretty tough thing to kind of compare Deion Sanders to Bo Jackson, because I saw both of them play, and I don't know. They did like different things. I believe that Bo Jackson, I still remember the day when Bo Jackson's hip got pulled back into his socket by that, because he was playing for the Raiders. It was him, Marcus Allen, the whole crew, and he got hit by one of the Bengals. I don't even know who the Bengals player is, but his hip went out of socket, and I was hoping and praying that he would ever recover from that. So I believe that if he would have stayed healthy, he would have been in the Hall of Fame. There is not even a doubt about that. And he was a two-sport star as well. I believe that he was, I don't know if he came first or if Deion Sanders came first. I'm thinking that Bo Jackson might have came first and then Deion Sanders. I don't know. Y'all could probably correct me on that. Was that correct? Yeah. So Bo Jackson came first and Deion Sanders came first. So Bo Jackson is like one of my favorite players. But even beyond that, in the news, Deion Sanders was at Jackson State University. I believe Sister Winsley, she went to Jackson State University, if I believe that to be correct. And Jackson State University is a historically black college and university that is in Mississippi, Jackson, Mississippi. And for the last 2 years, he basically turned that program around. He gave a whole bunch of money. He also, she said Jackson State, all right. What's y'all mascot? What's Jackson State mascot? Tigers. The Jackson State Tigers. Jackson State University Tigers. All right now. Roar. She came in here and roared a little bit when she said that. State. That's right. So Deion Sanders took that program and he turned it around. Yeah, he did. And he basically, went undefeated. He had a really good record, and he won the SWAC championship. And so there's a lot of jealousy. I saw little crabs in the bucket, but there's a lot of controversy out there because on one side of the issue, and maybe you could speak to this, others of you can speak to this. On one side, you have a group of people, mainly you have people of color on two sides. On one side, they felt like he never should have left, and that he really put historically black colleges and universities on the scene. I know Eddie George is still at Tennessee State, I believe, and I know that Doug Williams is still at Grambling. But it was, really a lot of great players came from out of Jackson State. Actually, Walter Payton came from out of Jackson State as well. And he gave back before he passed away. And so that is something that is extremely important for us to know. So he gave back millions of dollars. He put the school on the map. He brought celebrities to the school, all of this whole 9 yards. They had VIP seats with Rick Ross. And, I don't even know if Lil Boosie came up, but he probably would have showed up, too, because I know he loves sports. Yeah. But either way, he really attracted a lot of key star players, key recruits that would not go to a HBCU because for many years it's usually an afterthought, right? So on one side of the fence, there are people who are really salty that he is going on to Colorado or University of Colorado, the Buffaloes. I don't even remember. I think Colorado in this past season they went 1-11. Yep. They went 1-11, and along with that, I don't remember University of Colorado Buffaloes being of any relevance. I can't remember the last time they were any relevance. I don't know if who went there recently. Was it who was the Pittsburgh Steelers black quarterback that used to run? Cordell Stewart. Did Cordell Stewart go to the University of Buffalo? Can y'all fact check that for me? I don't know if he went there, but if he did not go there, then I do not believe, and y'all check me on this, I do not believe that the University of Colorado Buffaloes were any of relevance in football since Eric Bieniemy left. All right. So it was Colorado that Cordell Stewart? Okay.
Yeah, he went there.
So Cordell Stewart was the next one. So Eric Bieniemy, who is the coach for the Kansas City Chiefs, he was a beast as far as a running back is concerned. So I have not heard Colorado of any relevance except for Eric Bieniemy and Cordell Stewart.
Yeah.
That's it. So by Deion Sanders going there, he was making $300,000 at Jackson State, but he'll be making $30 million.
Yeah.
I think that's right, $30 million,
Yeah.
$5 million a year, and the University of Colorado at Boulder. So one side of the fence believes that he should have stayed and tried to build something great, and I see an argument for that. On the other side, it's prime time. Hall of Famer. He got the jacket. He knows everybody and their mama. Shannon Sharp. He got a lot of people behind him, and they know about them D1 schools, and he's taking his sons with him.
Yeah.
So they already went into the transfer portal. Red shirt freshman. Even one of the guys who wasn't playing, he transferred out because he knew he wasn't playing.
He already knew what time.
He already knew.
He knew what time it was.
He already knew what time it was. In other words, it was a epic fail. He already knew what time it was, right? Yeah. So in essence, there's some people who wanted him to stay, and then there's some people who wanted him to go. Yeah. So do you have anything that you want to say?
I mean, I look at it in two different ways, right? First and foremost, Primetime.
Put the mic forward to you.
Primetime had a plan.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He knew what he was coming to do, and he knew where he wanted to go. So to me, he's executing his plan. But then it's like, well, one of his first weeks he was there, didn't he get robbed?
I forgot all about that.
You know
now you know you hood. Like, when you coaching, talk about some I right. I-95 right, I-95 right, and then you can see two dudes reaching inside of your glove compartment looking for.
You know what I mean? Like
he said that. Al said he stayed over. So Al, he from Mississippi, so he knows intimately about what's going on over there. Y'all rocking like that in Jackson, brother?
Yeah, and I think he even said it when he was doing this little press conference with Colorado. He had a little meeting with him, and he even said that, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not getting robbed out here. And it was just like little subtle little things like that. To me, there's a lot of things that pushed him away. You know what I mean? But then at the same time, he's still moving on his plan. You know, I'm not mad at him, because it's like at the end of the day, if you just once you close your door to your home and it's you and your family and y'all make the decisions, I think that him and his family made the right decision.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And then especially even if you think about the kids, his kids, and then the kids he's probably going to bring with him, now they're going to have a better opportunity. You know what I mean? So to me, I look at it in those few ways, but I'm not mad at him. But I hear people how they be talking about him, and there's one thing you left out about Bo Jackson too. His shoes were better than Deion Sanders' shoes.
I don't even remember Deion Sanders having. I remember the Bo Jacksons. I remember thinking about trying to steal some back in the day because I couldn't afford them. But there's a problem when you try to steal shoes from Foot Locker. There's only one shoe on the rack and the other one is back in the back.
You gotta be handicapped.
So let's just say you be doing the pivot foot. But I remember the green, black, and white ones, man. If you brought some shoes back, I buy those retro ones and stuff like that. But yeah, I forgot all about those. I remember those distinctly, and they were so fresh back in the day, man. So, you know, Deion, I feel you. I went to HBC. I went to Florida A&M University. I thought that if he would have stayed, I kind of on both sides, because I believe that if he would have stayed, then there would have been an avalanche of former NFL players at a high profile that would have went to that school, maybe even taken Jackson State and made it a D1 school and powerhouse. But that would have taken about 5 years. and he said that all of the ancillary players like the cornerbacks, quarterback, that was his son, running backs, you could find them around the corner in Mississippi. But when it comes to those big meat man, the milkman and the meat man, the big 300-pounder, 6 foot, like Georgia, what Georgia got?
Yeah.
Jackson State ain't beating Georgia. Alabama ain't beating Georgia. Ain't nobody beating Georgia, Michigan, TCU, all the people who are. I don't see them doing that, not for the next 5 to 10 years. And I don't believe that. That I believe that Deion took that into stock. Now, if he had all the money he wanted, then I think that there would have been something that he would have built upon. But I think that the main reason why he left was because of his family. I don't think that the NFL scouts would have taken his son seriously as far as a pro prospect unless he would have been on the level like a Steve McNair, where you got to throw like 30,000 yards in like 2 years at Jackson State in order to even be considered as a first-round pick.
Yeah.
So if I'm thinking like him, I'm thinking I made my impact. I gave you the blueprint. Do what I need to do. But my son, I'm trying to get my son to the pros. I'm trying to get my sons to the pros. I think that's paramount, and I think this is the best opportunity for them to get to the pros. He already done been to the pros, but a first-round pick coming from University of Colorado versus a first-round pick coming from Jackson State, that was not going to happen in the next 2 years.
No.
Unless Jackson State beat Miami, had to go through all the conference changes, and that would have been a monumental effort. So I see it. I see it. You could have built something great, but at the same time, he could build something great with the University of Colorado. So I think that NFL players that want to be coaches that got the mind for it, I think that HBCUs is going to be a good place for you. But I think Deion's situation was unique. So I'm not going to be a crab in the barrel. Most of us, if you got paid $15 more than where you working right now, you think that you're going to be like, well, perhaps I should just stay in, perhaps I should just stay here in the neighborhood. And preachers, y'all do the same thing. Preachers, y'all do the same thing. Now, if I got a call from Northland, I'm just saying, what would I do? No comment. Well, let's just say that Northland will have some chocolate in the seats. I'll just put it that way. Hey, if you got an opportunity, you're going to take that opportunity. Why are we going to fight for equality and opportunity and not take it?
Yeah.
Right?
And like I was gonna ask you a question, but you kind of already answered it. And it was like, it's two things, right? Let's just push his family out of the way. It's just prime time. What I wrote down is it the money? And it's like, well, yeah, you got to think about it. Like you asked him, if somebody is going to pay you $15 more, are you going to move to that job? And 9 times out of 10, yes, we're going to move. What's going to keep us over here making this money, right? It's like, okay, well, I love the place, I love the establishment, but I just got robbed the other day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's kind of like having a Mercedes-Benz and building a 2-story mansion in the middle of Durkeeville in Jacksonville. You are going to get staked out every night.
Yep.
It don't matter how much time you spent there. You're going to have to make it a compound with guards and everything. It's the criminal element. Yeah. And most of us try to get out of those places.
Yeah.
We grew up there, but we don't want to stay there. Right? We grew up there, but we don't want to stay there. So I believe that Jackson State, and not everybody's built to be in the trenches like that. Yeah. Right? I don't see. I think Deion Sanders is used to a certain lifestyle, and that lifestyle is not what he was not what he was going to get at Jackson State. Yeah. I do believe that the way he grew up, Jackson State is familiar because that's where he got his swag from. He ain't getting this swag from the suburbs in Aspen, Colorado with ski boots and all that other stuff like that. He ain't getting no swag from there. Yeah. So it's a good place to start. You can always give back. Now, if Jackson State had great suburbs and all this other stuff like that, like even with Tallahassee is like a mixed city. So if it was FAMU, I think that it would have been a chance that he would have stayed at FAMU, built up the program, beat Florida State, something like that, and then it would put it on the map, and then you have all these NFL players that's going to be coaching. But that would have been a 10-year endeavor, and I don't think he wanted to do that.
Yeah.
Next up, we got just really briefly. So last night in the state of Georgia, Raphael Warnock as well as Herschel Walker, they had a runoff election on last night. Sister Man in the back shaking her head. So I really put it this way: there's a lot of people who are upset, not at the fact that Herschel Walker lost, because there's a lot of people who were upset with that, but by the percentage point by the way he lost. He only lost by like maybe 1%, 1.2%, if that. So a lot of people were surprised, and they were thinking that it was going to be an avalanche. But people got to understand that the main reason why Raphael Warnock won is because there's a lot of transplants that moved to Atlanta. But Atlanta is not the same thing as Georgia. So while Raphael Warnock won this point around, and I have my issues with him, I think on some things he's good. I think on other things he's being pressured by his party to do things, especially as a pastor, right? There's certain things that he should not be signing on with. And so you can't be in the pulpit with certain things and talk about the holiness of Christ, and then at the same time you're contradicting yourself. So Herschel Walker, I think that he would have been, used by people if he would have went up there. He would have just been told what to do, and he would have. That's just my opinion. But here's the thing for my Georgia people to realize: in the future, you better believe that if they find another black Republican candidate that is well spoken and on their toes, you better believe that it's not going to be the same type of situation. It won't be that close.
Yeah. And
another thing I was reading too is, with all the baggage, back in the day, if a politician, like with Bill Clinton and all the stuff that happened with him, and stuff with Trump, it used to be prior to Donald Trump that if a politician did something bad, that would sink their campaign. But now, if you act a donkey,
it elevates
it. It actually elevates you.
It elevates you.
And nobody don't give a flip because they just want you to win.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, if you look at things and how people like to think about morality, especially when it comes to politics, hypocrisy used to be a biting tooth back in the day. But now, since morality is kind of like, something that you're supposed to keep in those churches, and separation of church and state, and it's all about policy, you can't use moral arguments to down a candidate anymore because people don't believe that morality is really a factor any longer. Short of rape, murder, incest with kids.
So my question, right? Do you think Herschel Walker was just handpicked? Let me use this guy, or was he a good candidate?
I don't think he was a good candidate. I think he was handpicked because, I think that Donald Trump, even though a lot of people liked a lot of his policies, the main reason why black folk didn't care for Donald Trump is not because of his policies, it was because of the way he acted.
Yeah.
If he was like George Bush from back in the day, he would be a 2-term president, hands down. Mm-hmm. Put all them judges in place, but even the people who are Republicans don't want Donald Trump to come back. Your boy Ron DeSantis, that if he runs, and him and that boy out of Texas, Greg Abbott run, I think they're gonna win because I'm sorry, Joe Biden. I'm just teasing. I don't think that he wants. I don't think he has enough energy to do a 2-term. I think that Trump was going to be a 1-term president. I think Joe Biden is going to be a 1-term president. So I think 2024 is going to be wide open. Donald Trump will run out of pride, but I don't think that the Republican National Committee is going to pick him the second time around. I don't know who the Democrats are going to pick in 2024.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a tough one. 'Cause I've been thinking about that one because, we watch it a lot at the shop, and it's just like, once Sleepy Joe get up out of the office, who we got?
I don't know. I think Ron DeSantis is going to be, a really strong candidate, president. I mean, in Florida, he won by a landslide.
Yeah.
And Florida and Georgia demographically ain't that too far apart. Mm-hmm. But in Georgia, Herschel Walker, one thing about people who are of color, if you look like us, whether you're on one party or another, you have to be able to speak well. You got to know your stuff, and you got to win those debates.
Yeah.
If you act like you can't talk, then you proceed as a sellout.
Oh man.
And you messing up with stuff, you can't explain yourself. You might as well forget it. And you know, you might as well forget it. It's not going to work. So, the only thing that I have to say about this in closing is that I'm just happy that the electoral process won out. What I like in Washington, and this may be controversial, I like gridlock. Mm-hmm. I like it where both parties are even. I was actually hoping for it to be 50-50 Senate. Or I like for it to be 50-49 where it's just like a razor-thin margin, because that forces them to work to each other in order to get anything done.
Yeah.
As opposed to it swinging to one side or another side, because it swung all the way to the left during Obama. It swung all the way right to Donald Trump. So I think that there's probably going to be a moderate person. I think Joe Biden is pretty moderate, and I think that, you know, people like things in the middle. Yeah. I know the stock market likes stuff in the middle. My stock market don't like change. So, you know, so that's just how I see it.
Quick question. Did Herschel Walker, in running this race, did he make you change your perspective of? From the football player that we know to what we see right now.
Only thing I remember with Herschel Walker, and I think that he's a genuinely nice person. Mm-hmm. I think he made some mistakes, but the only thing I really, you know, that really put Herschel Walker of note is that he was a dynamite player at University of Georgia. He did 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 deep knee bends back in the day, and he played for the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. So he had the celebrity status, mm-hmm. but at the same time, he needed to. If he was a good candidate, then black people would not have voted so much for Warnock. They probably just would have stayed neutral. Yeah. Because they would be like, well, either one of them good. You know, I'm about that money. But when you can't articulate yourself, when you can't come across as being clear, and you know, honestly, a lot of people don't like his affiliation with Donald Trump. That's why Kemp, who happens to be the governor of Georgia, he won. But he distanced himself from Trump. Yeah. When he tied himself to Trump, black folks
wasn't feeling that.
They wasn't feeling it. They wasn't feeling it as a whole. And so, you know, it is what it is. And Florida is a different animal altogether, because Ron DeSantis started distancing himself from Trump about a couple of years ago, and now they've been calling each other out a little bit. So that neutralized a lot of people in Florida. So so politics is politics. I'm not going to be a politician ever. I remember Billy Graham said this a long time ago. He said, why would I run for president? I feel like that would be a step down from what I'm doing. So I'm going to stay with the gospel. These are just things that I observe from a distance. Mm-hmm. I hope that Raphael Warnock doesn't let his party pull him away from the things of the gospel. Yeah. That's what my prayer is. Yeah. Third on the list. All right. So I may not have so much to say about this one, but so Lori Harvey just recently said that any man that wants to date her needs to sign a non-disclosure agreement, in that if they were to tell, or what we would call pillow talk. Yeah. You spilling the guts, spilling the beans. I don't know what kind of code is out here with these Thundercats today, but you usually just, anytime you had any type of dating, you just didn't, well, sometimes you would share the information, but you wouldn't share it publicly. You wouldn't clout chasing in the process of doing that, right? So if a man wants to date Lori Harvey, they have to sign a non-disclosure agreement stating that you will not share anything that is going on between us. You can't use any social media or any of those type of things highlighting our relationship with each other, or else you got to pay $1 million. Whoa. So I'm just going to sit back and I'm just going to say flag on the play. Whoa. It's going to be a flag on the play with that one, right? Yeah. You got a flag on the play with that one. Oh, so go ahead, brother. You just have this one. Flag on the play. Flag on the play.
So now if I'm the guy. If I'm
the guy.
Right? First and foremost, I'm not signing nothing. I don't even know you like that. We just met. Like, what you talking about? Secondly, if I breach the contract, I owe you $1 million? Yep. That, to me, that's like, so why? You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm at a loss for words, right? So Lori Harvey wants a man to sign an NDA, like
Rich man.
oh.
Cause you know she ain't just gonna go talk to
I
no
was just about to
anybody.
say that, yeah. So now she's not looking at the regular guys.
It's Michael B. Jordan and up. She turned down Michael. She want to be free.
Yeah, nah. To me, what she needs to get is a hold of herself. And when I say that, it's just like, what is it that you really want out here? Because it seems like you chasing status, but you want the person that's with you to kind of either bow down or conform, or I don't know. I don't know the motive behind the NDA. You know what I mean?
Maybe she don't want everybody in her business. Like if you a NBA player, maybe like Anthony Davis or whatnot, somebody like that, and you dating Lori Harvey, maybe she trying to protect herself because she caught a lot of flack from what was going on between her and Michael B. Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think Michael B. Jordan said a whole lot.
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan was interested in Megan Thee Stallion too at one point in time, but I don't know. I think that there's some wisdom in that because I think that if you are in a relationship with somebody and you're in a celebrity status, I do believe that some things should be left private. And if you really like me, you wouldn't have no desire to want to do that.
Yeah.
To put our business out there if you're in a relationship with me. But if you're only getting in a relationship with me to clout chase and get your views up, that's why I think that TikTok is exploding with all these regular people stuff, because people want to make money doing regular things so they can bring that check into their house. They want that check. They want views, and views get you paid. Views give you a Maserati or a Mercedes-Benz going down the road. So I think that she already has her status. And I think that as a woman who's 24, 25 years old, she's at the very beginning of, excuse me, she's at the very beginning of her courting phase to be married.
Yeah.
Within the next 3 years. And I think that maybe, just maybe, she wants the purity of just dating and being private.
So do we not communicate that?
It's hard to trust people nowadays.
And that was gonna be when I thought about that question, right? That was the same thing that popped in my mind. It's like, do we not communicate that? But then it's like at the same time, can I trust you?
Can I trust you? And I think that, this is probably going to be an ongoing trend.
Mm-hmm.
Deshaun Watson, he had some the situations that he was in, not trying to go there with him, but he had a lot of those people signing NDAs stating that they will not do this and do that, because the situation that he got in, it was far beyond. I believe that there was probably way more than that, but because he had those NDAs, those people couldn't say anything against him.
I think Chris Brown had did that too. Like,
yes.
sign an NDA and you can't have your phone out or any of that.
No,
stuff.
If you want to party with me, it's kind of like, I imagine if Mike Tyson would have had an NDA back at the time he was with Robin Givens, or when he was at that hotel. I'm protecting myself because some people have all their groupies sign NDAs that you're not going to take and record us in private. If you do this, then I'm going to sue you for everything that you got. So if you come in, the only thing that you could do is have it in your brain and you talk about it in your diary.
Yeah.
Anything beyond that, you can't say anything about it for the next 3 years.
So look, all right, I got a question because I just thought about this, right? Because when we brought up the topic, I jumped out there and I said what I said. So let's pull back a little bit.
Okay.
Right? We just talked about 2 men that did it, and a third one that if he would have did it, he probably wouldn't have went through the situation. So we got Deshaun Watson, Chris Brown, Mike Tyson. Now, when Deshaun Watson and Chris Brown did their NDA, was it a big deal like how it is when she did hers?
No, because I think it's common practice for men to have, who are of status, to have groupies. Mm-hmm. You don't really see male groupies like what you would see with like Lori Harvey. There's a lot of men that really want to be with her. Yeah. All right. They really want to be with her. And there's other, like Megan Thee Stallion. Megan Thee Stallion would have, if she was dating, she would probably have an NDA as well. But Megan Thee Stallion, I think Megan Thee Stallion and Lori Harvey like in 2 different categories. Megan Thee Stallion, she probably has or probably could stand the NDA, but she's in a relationship. Mm-hmm. And I don't even see her doing something like that. I think that Lori Harvey, she's more of a socialite because what else does she do? She doesn't act.
Yeah.
She's not a singer.
Yeah.
Her father is really, she's very attractive, and her father is Steve Harvey. So beyond that, it's like Paris Hilton. So her celebrity status, she's almost like want to be in the category of Kim Kardashian.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like where you really don't have anything going on, but your social status. And maybe she wants to protect that. Or maybe she might eventually want to settle down. She just said, hey, if you're going to sell out on me and put my stuff all in Front Street, I'm at least going to get paid. So all you dudes that are not serious, if you exit this, it's a one-way in, one-way out relationship.
Yeah.
I am worth $1 million.
So then to me, she's speaking from a place of trauma. That must be a trigger point.
It may be a trigger point, or maybe she just say, I want to be for the streets, but I'm going to get paid if I'm going to be in the streets. So,
yeah, I
don't know. I say, hey, men have been doing it all the time, so maybe, as someone say, two could play this game.
I ain't mad at her.
Hey, it is what it is. Next up, we have a special topic, and this was submitted from the eldest desk with this one. So, Jamal Harrison Bryant is in the news again. Him and his oh, you got this one. So him and his ex-wife, are they married again, Al? You know? Yes, he said you don't know idea. Somebody fact check. Well, I think it's his ex-wife, but I think that she's the ex-wife mistress. I think that he's still romantically involved with her. I think he's playing the whatever. So he's the pastor of Bishop Eddie Long's former church in Lithonia, Georgia, right? And so Jamal Harrison Bryant, he's done some great things in Baltimore. He is definitely for the betterment of black people in many regards. However, his situation with women and things of that nature has not really put certain pastors in a good light, right?
Yeah.
Now, there is dirt in everybody's closet, preachers too. I have a past. We all have thorns. However, there's a difference between struggling with a thorn privately and then putting your thorn out there and capitalizing on it. So he's been in a lot of controversy lately, and this most recent controversy, as Elder brought this to my attention, is that he has discovered a new revenue stream to where he wants to buy a field. He got the land, and he's planting cannabis. He wants to plant cannabis and have weed for acres and acres in rural Georgia. I thought that was, well, I guess you can grow it legally. Can you grow it legally in Georgia? Or is it can't be in Georgia. It has to be in like California or Colorado. Speaking of Colorado, maybe that's the reason why I did. No, I'm just teasing. Just teasing.
Go enhance his mind.
Yeah, something. But now some would say, well, maybe it's for CBD oil because, you know, it's good. It helps you to relax and stuff like that. But I think somebody just recently in Orlando was at a catering event where they baked in cannabis edibles into the lasagna and some of the pasta. So broken plate. This might I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. Everybody gonna be like, hey, what's it? Hey, I don't know what type of party this is. So, you know, CBD oil, you know, it's a booming industry. It's $1 billion industry. I just think it's just the legalized dope, man. Honestly, you know, I think that, you know, the main argument when it comes to weed, I won't even get into all of that. But a lot of times people will say, well, weed comes from the earth and God made it. However, after Adam and Eve sinned, the world fell into sin and it's been corrupted. Yeah. So while God made it, man, once he sinned against God, everything in the earth has been tainted by sin. And man's use of things never is for noble purposes. It's usually to escape. Sometimes it's used medicinally, but everybody out there, every time I take Andre to school, there's this one house that's always loud with marijuana. Every single time. I've never smelled as much loud marijuana as I have the last 4 years. over the top, synthetic, edibles. People trying to send me friend requests, talk about something. I got weed cupcakes, homie. You want some weed cupcakes? You can spread them out to your congregation. I even remember one time, and Al, you might remember this, where we had a person who applied to be a musician at our church, and he actually said to me, and I kid you not, and I didn't have to sign an NDA for this. I made him nameless, but he said when I went to his Facebook profile, he said, "Pastor, I go to Cannabis University." Let's just say that he's not playing for us right now. And I checked Al. He plays. He ain't doing that.
Oh man, he saw my face. I was like,
hey, if you ever in this business called preaching, and you will come across, I kid you not, Cannabis University, and he wanted to start a dispensary, and he said that he had no problem worshiping God with some weed smoke. Now I understand if it's a struggle. I understand if you're using it medicinally, whatever is whatever. Just don't abuse it. With anything, moderation. I get it. I understand it. I've been there, done that years ago, whatever. But you always got to know that there's always a consequence. Your lungs and that smoke is going to affect your lungs, and there's more and more people getting sick from it. It's not the purity of it. It's all the additional stuff.
yeah.
That's hurting people. So go off. You do your own thing. Jamal Harrison Bryant, more power to you. Just get, maybe you just go ahead and just when it comes to Palm Sunday, don't use palms. Use weed leaves instead.
Man.
So you, my friend, you get a challenge flag.
Challenge flag.
You get a challenge flag for that one, all right? But hey, is you do whatever you got to do. You get zapped for that one. All right.
Yeah.
So now, after that, well, thank you for that, Elder Winsley. That was from Elder Winsley. I didn't even have this on my radar to give him a shout out for that one. Now, again, the next topic, this is like a side topic. Nia Long, who I had a crush on her way back in the day. Nia Long, why you showing up with Ice Cube? Come on, man. What show you watch? But anyway, Nia Long. And it's cool because he was in a movie, what is it, Menace to Society, with Nia Long and all the rest of the Q. Who else was it?
It was Friday.
It was Friday.
Yep, Friday.
Wait a minute. Oh, and Friday? But yeah, he was Doughboy in Menace to Society, and Nia Long was in that movie. Boys in the Hood. Wait a minute.
Oh, that was Cuba Gooding Jr.
That was Cuba Gooding Jr. Yeah, Cuba Gooding Jr. Nia
him.
Long. I call him Morpheus. I forgot what his name is, but Lawrence Fishburne. Yeah, he has some serious. He looked like somebody daddy in the hood too, man. But that Nia Long.
Yeah.
And Ime Udoka, who was the coach for the Boston Celtics. Yeah, he was the Boston Celtics, and they, after 13 years of being a fiance, they finally called it quits because of this incident.
Yeah, man, it broke my heart, man.
So, ladies, I have a question for you. Do you believe that, and I think she was 51 and he was 45 and they have a child together. Do you believe, and you can put this on the chat or maybe just discuss it, do you believe that a man is worth waiting for, or a woman is worth waiting for as far as marriage? Do you believe that 13 years is a sufficient enough time to wait, to wait before you say I do? Is it justified? Or is it one of those you mind your own business type thing?
Well, I'm sorry, ladies. I would love for you guys to respond to this question.
Yeah, I want to know. I think I know the answer for some of y'all, but I don't know. Y'all ladies, the city girls.
Yeah. Now, my rebuttal is like, what did they go in thinking? Mm-hmm. Because I know people that's been dated 15, 20 years and they never, put a ring on it. But you say they was fiancé, so there was a ring on it.
It was a ring. It just never went any further.
We just never had a date. So, I mean, well, maybe it was just like a very long-standing promise ring or something like that. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Like, maybe I promised that one day we going to get married, But, hey, man, I'm not going to lie. This situation all together, it broke my heart, man. You know why it broke my heart? Because it was like, I feel like Boston Celtics as a organization,
I think they did them dirty.
they did them dirty, and I feel like that was the demise of it. Because look at her, she's like, well, the whole world knows what can I do? It's like you can't recover from that. That was a blow that man could never recover from, you know. And it's like, well, you think about like one of the words that I got in my notes is like dehumanizing, and just like, what is it, buck breaking?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that would, to me, was like, well, we gonna take you and we gonna make an example of you for the whole world to see, and that destroyed his whole home. You know, and she probably knew what time it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then just when it hit the fan, you know, but then at the same time she probably didn't, and she probably found out like everybody else found out. And if that was the case, that's even worse. You know, but
Yeah.
to me it was just all bad, you know.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those things where it's like part of me feels for Nia Long, but part of me is like, you're a 51-year-old woman, and if it was all about just, you know, the status and all of that, then the fiance shouldn't have mattered. You should have stood by him. But, you know, you can mute that computer, man. So, you know, if it was just one of those things to where, you know, first of all, I don't know, man, in their right mind. I think I saw this on Facebook. If somebody will cheat on Nia Long,
Yeah.
they'll cheat on a list. Somebody cheated on Nia Long. Somebody cheated on Beyonce. Somebody cheated on. So you're not exempt, right? There's a lot of people on that list that don't get cheated on. You just don't see them as celebrity. Denzel Washington was famous. A lot of these people are famous and they're faithful. It's just it's not publicized. But I think he made a bad decision.
Yeah.
I think that he probably has been out there doing stuff for a long time. And I don't know who was the one who did not want to get married, but I do not believe, unless it was a Stedman type of thing, and I still think that Oprah secretly married to Stedman some type of way, but, you know, I don't think that any woman wants to perpetually be a fiance.
No.
They just do not want to do that. Not anybody worth their salt. So as far as the fiance stuff going for that long, I think it's both of their fault. Because if they had an intention of being married, they should have did it a long time ago. However, if she saw some stuff in him that was not straight and was just kind of like an open-ended thing, and, you know, we just got a child, that we got to raise the child together, then, you know, maybe she just kind of hung out there. But, nah, I don't think that's a flex. I think that, you know, he should have been wiser. And sometimes things very harsh happen like that to us because we play with God a lot. And sometimes when you don't heed the consequences or warnings, and I think that his behavior has probably been like that for years.
Yeah.
It's just that he just got caught, because there's something in a person that makes you want to talk to somebody who's already married. He was single, but she was not. In my mind, if a woman is married, just like many of us, we got bro code. I'm not going to talk to you and you married. You off the market. So to cross over that, there's something in his mind that did that. And I don't think that was probably the first time.
Yeah.
So, you know, fellas, flag on the play. You got to be careful. Ladies, know your worth. Unless it's some other reason why you just don't favor marriage, because I don't think that she came from a good home as far as her parents are concerned. So there's already a lot of skepticism. But most people who come from healthy marriages or have a biblical view of marriage are not going to perpetually have somebody keeping them in limbo as far as a relationship to be married. Not for no 5 years, 10 years. You just, either you're not mature enough to get married or you don't know what you want. But I'm not going to let you waste my life while you figure it out.
Alicia said that Nia didn't want to get married.
I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that sometimes people fool themselves into thinking that. But if she did, it's very rare. That's not the common use case.
Yeah.
Because why wouldn't you? And then if you didn't want to get married, then how are you going to trip if he's single? And because you are single, if you have a fiance for 15 years, you are still single. If you have a kid, if you have 10 kids from one person, you don't get married, you are still single.
Why you say that?
Because you're not married. You're not married. But marriage is just a piece of paper. You know all them deep brothers, deep sisters out there. I mean, marriage is just a piece of paper. I don't need to go to the government. Okay, so when you have death benefits and that person dies, the girlfriends are not going to get no checks.
Yeah.
They're not going to get no beneficiary. They're not going to have no say-so over the will. Just look at DMX, old girl.
She had to fight for what she was trying to get to.
Unless there's some type of written agreement or something like that, common law marriage and all this other type of stuff, you are not getting 1 cent. Money is just a piece of paper too. Mm-hmm. So is birth certificates. So is a license. All of those are pieces of paper. So miss me with the whole argument. It's just a piece of paper. Just commit. But in the Bible, it's polygamy, and Solomon and David had multiple wives. Yeah, they got in a lot of trouble too.
Yeah.
Both of them fell into idolatry. Both of them were great men, but they both men who fell. And in the Bible doesn't mean that that's something that you're supposed to do. There's some things that are described in the Bible, and there's certain things that you're supposed to do. Adam and Eve is the blueprint. One man, one woman. It was not, I'm going to create Adam and Eve and Sue Ann. Nah, it's Adam and Eve. That is the original blueprint before they fell. So if you had any relationship to look at, you look at Adam and Eve, and I do not believe that Adam and Eve divorced. They saw the whole world crash and they stayed together. Oh, that'll preach really good.
So now, do you think he recovers from this, or is he forever tainted?
I don't think that there's any female out there. If there's, as women start getting more and more say so in business and marketplace and things like that, I do not believe that if there's any woman of influence that's going to be around, I don't see him touching anything of note for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
It's at least a year. That whole suspension for a year, because he's still suspended by the Boston Celtics. He hasn't, gone just yet. And he was about to go to the
Nets.
To the Nets. So there's going to be somebody that's going to trigger him, because he still took them to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? He still took them to the playoffs. So I think it's going to be at least a year that he's going to have to sit down and reevaluate things. And he probably ain't going to do it again. Or he going to be out there tricking right now and just say, hey, well, since I'm out there,
yeah,
and I done lost Nia Long too or whatnot, and he ain't getting paid like he used to. Mm-hmm. Well, no, I think he still probably got some of the stuff. But, there's fellas and ladies, there are, as we start moving forward, the pendulum's switching the other way. Nobody didn't want any morals. Nobody didn't want to say what was right and what was wrong. And it depends. Your truth is not necessarily my truth. We're starting to see now rear its ugly head. And I see that the pendulum is probably going to swing back to the opposite side maybe in the future, to where there will be more morality clauses in contracts. Because he signed a morality clause at the Celtics saying that while you're in this position, you shall not do this, that, this, and the other while you are here. I think I should have some of my ministers and preachers do the same thing too. Yeah. Deacon Penn, you think we should do that? To where if you're a minister or a person of leadership inside of the church, you need to sign an agreement stating the morality clause that you are caught in these sins. The Lord will forgive you, but you can't be in leadership any longer till you. Well, never mind. We don't have to do that. The Bible already has a prescription for that. Mm-hmm. But I think if people in the secular world are doing that more and more often, because it could destroy lives, then the church should already, champion their standard of morality and having integrity. All right. Yeah. Say that again. You said you just follow what's in the Bible, man.
Yeah, we just follow what's in the Bible.
Yeah, you just follow what's in the Bible in its proper context, because Solomon having thousands of wives was in the Bible too. If you follow that, okay, you see that's important, right? It's important, right? So you can't just do what the Bible says. You have to do what it means. You can't just follow what it says. You have to understand what it means. That's what Bishop McGoffin said. It's what it says, and then what it means. All right, so now we have our meme of the day. So let's lighten it up just a little bit. So our meme of the day today is from none other than Hove Jigga himself. Oh. And it says, when you realize you only replied mentally and never actually sent the message. I am guilty of this. Oh, man. I thought I sent that text message. I thought I did that.
And look at his face.
Look at his face, too.
Because you made that same face. Like,
oh, yeah.
I thought I sent that.
I knew that I was supposed to say that, the person hit me up saying, what you doing? And I didn't reply. In my mind, I was like, I'm doing great things in my life, but nothing was sent. Nothing was sent at all. So that's the meme of the day, all right? If you have a meme of the day, this is just something that I picked, but if you have a meme of the day and you're watching online and you're viewing us right now, feel free to submit some in. Just make sure that they are of least pretty good taste, right? No profanity, none of that stuff, no ratchetness. Hey, we love the Lord, we live hood at the same time. We professional, but we from the country as well. But for this one, please don't put no cuss words. Do not submit them or I will blank them out, right? That is from the editor, all right? Shout out to Lady Martin because she would have my head if we went that far. I don't want to be like Jamal Harrison Bryant. I'm sorry, I was being petty when I said that, all right? Being on the edge. Okay, so now the next thing that we got is our soul therapy main topic. And this is called cults and conspiracies. Now, this could be a topic. That's not cults and conspiracy. You saying the cults are in Georgia? Is that what you saying? Well, if you look at the etymology, red means you being all deep and whatnot. Saying red, my brother. Yeah. If you look at the Conspicuous Couture, you remember there was a person from In Living Color, Damon Wayans, who said while he was in prison, he used to say, well, the confiscation of my bladder as I matriculate through the intestines of my esophagus allows me to extract the mental fortitude of what you are saying, my brother. Yeah.
That's that old Living Color.
Yeah, that's old Living Color. Look that up. Yeah, man, I just saying. So, cults and conspiracy. So, this is where we're going to go into freestyle mode, right? Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to answer some questions, and maybe if you got some questions online about cult's behavior, whether it's Hebrew Israelites, whether it's something that Kyrie's talk about, what about documentary, Tariq Nasheed and Hidden Colors, stuff like that. You know how y'all do at 3 a.m. in the morning. You be on the internet and you be like, maybe this is the truth. My son, TikTok. Let me see if I can find the truth on TikTok. Yeah. Conspiracy theories, anonymous, vendetta, views for vendetta. So we going down that lane for today. So my brother Amir is going to ask some questions. Ooh. And this is what I call the freestyle session. So during our freestyle session, you're going to put Dr. Martin on the hot seat. Yeah. Ask any question, and I will try to answer it straight, or I will say I do not know.
Okay.
And then others, I would say flag on the play. We do the challenge flag. So these are my two flags. This is a violation, and this is a challenge flag. A violation, Jamal Harris Bryant, you get a violation. Mm-hmm. But this is a challenge flag. So I may have an opinion, something may not agree. Even if you're online, you could put one of those red flag emojis and say, flag on the play, Pastor Martin. I heard that, this, and the other, and I don't know if that's true or not. And then I'll try to substantiate it as best as I can.
Deal?
All right. You got the flow.
Deal. So, all right, it's going to come in like two parts, right?
Here we go.
Sometimes I'm probably just going to say certain words to you, but then sometimes I'm actually going to have a full-fledged question.
Okay.
And I'm going to start it with it just like this, right? Because first thing I got on my thing is prejudice. It's like, do you come out hating another race, or who does it come from? Your parents, your family, your friends? Like, how does prejudice happen?
Okay, so this is freestyle, and how does this relate with cults in a certain sense, right? So, in our society right now, at least the two of the most prominent ones today is the Ku Klux Klan, and as widespread as they are, it's white nationalism. Many of them see it as a cult because it's the Bible in one hand, and then racism is the fuel, right? Burning crosses, and you know that's not biblical at all. It's a twist. It's a perversion of the text. It's a perversion of the curse of Ham, and Ham is the African races, Japheth is white, and then Semitic is Arab, people who are from the Middle East, whether they're Arabs or if they are people who are Ashkenazi Jews or even Sephardic Jews. Those are all Semitic people, right? Ashkenazi Jews, people always try to make it seem like it's so mysterious, but these are white people who are in Europe that had relationships with Hebrews. And so a lot of times when you see Spielberg and things of that nature, they are still related to the Hebrews, but they have European descent. And then there's the Sephardic Jews, which are from North Africa. That's where Jesus came from. So Jesus didn't have any European blood. Both of his parents were Sephardic Jews. They were from North Africa, that specific area. and so his hue is going to be much darker. And a lot of people just think that there's only Jews that are on the planet, and there is no one else. Judaism is a religion, and you could be a black. I had one friend named Barry while I was in college, and he was black just like I was, and he was a Jew. His parents adopted him, and he adopted the Jewish faith. So he was a Jew. But a Jew, according to the Bible, is from the tribe of Judah, and there's the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. So when we talk about cults and things of that nature, as far as prejudice, kind of circle back around a little bit. Whether you're the Hebrew Israelites who believe that black people are the chosen, or whether you are British Israelism, or you white people, Ku Klux Klan, you believe that you're the chosen, your superiority. I do not believe that anybody comes out of the womb being prejudiced. I believe that it is a learned behavior. When you look at children and daycares and on all of these different types of things, like we have a daycare here, we have children of every ethnicity inside of our church. Some children are from Serbia, Poland, Puerto Rico, around the corner, Winwood Park, African American, Caucasian, you name it. They play together like they were in heaven. Hugs, sometimes fights, but it's not because of what they look like. It's because of just normal interactions with somebody that looks different, but you're just a baby, I'm a baby.
Yeah.
So most of the reason why there's prejudice, and I'll just put it in the classification of prejudice, because racism is a power construct. And I do not believe blacks can be racist, but I believe that everybody can have racial prejudices. So racial prejudice is not just unique to white people. It's also in black people. Some of us say we don't want you coming home with nobody if you can comb their hair all the way through. There should be some stoppage. Same thing with some people who are Latino or Hispanic. They do not want negrita or Negroes coming. No. That's not what we're going to do, right? Yeah. So I do not. So quick answer is I do not believe that anybody is born prejudiced. I believe that it is a learned behavior that can be unlearned. And biblically speaking, God created all of us. There was not just black people over here. God said, okay, I'm going to create Adam and Eve for black people, Adam and Eve for white people, Adam and Eve and all these different species. We treat each other like we're different species. But last time I checked, we came from a common ancestor. Man, we came from God himself. So all the division is because of man.
Yeah, and it's like, man, growing up, it's funny that you said that. Like, growing up in South Florida, what I saw a lot was people hating inside of their own race. So, like...
colorism. Yeah, like colorism.
Yeah, like, so all of the different Spanish people, Colombians don't like Puerto Ricans, Venezuelans don't like the Peruvians. But then it's like with black people, like Haitians, they only want to see you with the Haitian. They don't want to see you with a black person, an American.
Yeah.
Even like Jamaicans, they would rather you maybe go see you with a Jamaican or somebody that's Caribbean. You know what I mean? And I see that a lot, like especially with my hair. People always think that I'm this race, but then once I explain that I'm American, and it's like you can always see somebody maybe look at you different. It's like, well, you're not that. And to me, when I moved up here, I started to see the separation in the line. So now it's like, okay, well, it's just black and white now. You know what I mean? So moving more inland, I seen just the separation of just white people over here, black people over here. But then now what I'm starting to see is the integration of it all. But now we're hating people for who you are. So, you play for the other team, so I don't like you. You know what I mean? And for me, it's like I feel like prejudice, just like you said, it's something that's learned. So if like my group of friends over here don't like these group of people, then 9 times out of 10 I'm probably gonna be swaying with them. You know what I mean? Which also makes me believe that there's more followers than leaders.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, by nature, there's always going to be more followers than leaders. Yeah. And don't let social media fool you. Social media is a cesspool of followers and opinions and people who are starving for leadership.
Yeah.
It's starving for it. And so So I definitely understand that. And yeah, there's colorism, there's a lot of that. But Jesus has an answer for that, and it's just basically love one another. I don't have to endorse. Um, and another way of saying that is that you can embrace someone without endorsing them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to endorse all the behaviors and lifestyles of individuals that I come across. Just like all the people that are in a different view or see that me in a different view, they're not going to appreciate everything that I stand for.
Mm-hmm.
But I still have some friends that still love me even though they don't agree with what I stand for. And I still can treat people with kindness and respect. Jesus didn't have a litmus test when it came to sinners. He talked to everybody, but he didn't become like them.
Yeah.
He didn't become like them. And I think that you can win a lot of people over with love while at the same time holding to your standard. That's why I don't believe that I could be a successful politician, because I have convictions and standards that are biblically based, that will make the right and left angry with me.
Mm-hmm.
Pride or pity. So I think that we should love people because that's what God has called us to do, but we don't have to endorse what they do behind closed doors.
Yeah.
If you ask me, I'm going to tell you the truth. If I know, I'm not going to treat you any differently. But if you ask me where do I stand, I'll hug you and I'll tell you I love you, but you are wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I'll still tell you, if I love you, I'm going to still tell you that you are wrong. And a lot of people know that about me. A lot of people know about this ministry as well. We're not going to compromise. We cool. We got the hats. We got flags, Superman, all the other stuff like that. But we're not going to compromise. And our leadership team, just like many other really good established churches, should have leadership that should not compromise as well. We understand that people are in sin, but we don't need to endorse sin in order to win people. Darkness can't cast out darkness. Only light can cast out darkness. So I want to continue to be that guiding light.
Yeah.
Next up.
So, all right. here's a question that's just been like buzzing in my mind, right? And I think as men we face this a lot. It's like, do I forgive you versus did I forget? Like, which one? What am I? A lot of times, yeah, I forgive you, and I know I didn't forgive you, and I still remember it. But it's like I forgive you, but then I didn't forget it. But did I really forgive you if I didn't forget it?
Yeah, I think that there's a difference between remembering what happened. Like, I'll give you a quick example. Years ago, I had a coach that was so discouraging to me when I was a hot prospect playing Pop Warner, middle school, leader rusher, football, all this other type of stuff, starting on 10th grade, and then come across this coach that didn't see the potential any longer.
Yeah.
And says, you're going to be an N-word for life. Actually, I had a coach told me that. You're just going to be N-word for life. And was willing to fight me. Very, 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 very discouraging and denigrating. And that was so hurtful for many, many years, right? And then I remember when I was in college, I saw this same man who was so denigrated to me as a coach working in a pawn shop. And I'm like, I'm in college getting ready to graduate, and you in the pawn shop. And I wasn't saved at the time. So in my mind, the devil got in my mind, I'm like, look at where I am and look at where you are. Look at where I am and look at where you are. Yeah. And that was what was in my mind. But I was, the reason why I was in the pawn shop because I was selling something because I needed some money. He was like, what you doing in there? Because I needed some money at the time. But still, I was in college. I'm like, look at where I am and look at where you are. Yeah. And so I had a grudge. I did not forgive him. But then when I got saved, I happened to see this gentleman on Facebook, and I saw how our lives took two different paths. I'm successful, great family, great church family. A lot of people know me. Things are going really well. Even despite the challenges, things are going well. And somebody, if you look at my life, look where I am right now, you can say that I'm successful. But his life, not so much. A lot of people who used to aggravate me in high school, things like that, their life are not reflecting the status of what they seemed like they had back then.
Yeah.
So I saw him again since the social media. I just basically said to myself, you know what? He really hurt me back then, but you know what? I'm going to forgive him. I'm going to forgive him. I'm going to let it go. Now, I still remember everything that happened because I gave you a description. Mm-hmm. However, when I see the photos now, I don't have that not feeling inside of my chest to where if I saw him again, I'm going to give him peace of my mind.
Yeah.
So as humans, we have a data bank. So I think, biblically speaking, forgiveness is not you saying that you're going to be a doormat. Forgiveness is, I'm not holding whatever you did in my heart. Or as some people would say, forgiveness is not for them, it's for you.
Yeah.
Because holding grudges is a cancer to the soul. Yeah, holding grudges and unforgiveness is like you drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die.
Yeah, it's like an anchor.
It's like an anchor, and you can hold those grudges and just say I'm not finna, and that spills over to our relationships and our marriage, and now you got resentment, and all of a sudden we're divorcing because of irreconcilable differences.
Yeah,
because somebody's gonna not willing to let go of wrong. In marriage, you're gonna have to forgive a lot. With people, you can forgive a lot, but you don't have to have lack of wisdom. Mm-hmm. I wonder if Jesus forgave Judas for betraying him. Is he in heaven? No. Was it ordained to be so? No. But Jesus, knowing that Judas was going to betray him, did not treat him any differently.
Yeah.
Right? So while his sentence is not in the heavenly place, Jesus, while he was on earth, didn't treat Judas any different from anybody else. So his actions were forgiving while their interaction with each other, forgiving, open, let myself go on the cross. But he's still going to not forget, because at the end of the age, when it comes time for him to be judged, you already know where you go. Right? Yeah. So I think that forgiveness does not mean absolution of consequences. Forgiveness doesn't make you stupid neither. I forgive you for hurting me, but let's just say we're not going to be working with each other very closely anymore. Mm-hmm. Because you haven't changed. You hurt me. I learned. I've distanced myself away from the table. We're not going to do that again, especially if it's chronic. So I've gained some wisdom. In a close relationship, in a marriage, it's going to be a little bit different, because when you're learning each other, you're going to have to forgive each other a lot, because you want to get better if the goal is better. Yeah. And so, people who don't forgive, you're not going to stay in a relationship for a very long time.
Yeah. So, So you don't never ever really forget.
Mm-mm. You forgive until you forget. You forgive until you don't have the knots in your stomach, the butterflies in your stomach, the emotional attachment anymore. That's why Jesus said, how many times shall I forgive a person? The disciples came to Jesus and said, Jesus, how many times shall I forgive a person? He said 70 times 7. 490 times? That seems ridiculous. I'm just a doormat. You people always just turn the other cheek. But Elon Musk said that there's so much wisdom in turning the other cheek, because it takes more strength than revenge. Yeah. Revenge is actually very weak. It takes no effort to go to your lowest nature. But it takes a lot of effort to not want to butt somebody upside the head because they have hurt you. So Jesus says, turn the other cheek. If somebody takes your coat, give them your cloak even more. If somebody takes your money, give them some additional money. Right? Mm-hmm. That's a tough scripture. That's one of the toughest scriptures in the Bible, but yet that's what God has called us to do. Well, I ain't Jesus. I understand. But his truth doesn't change just because you ain't Jesus. Don't shoot the messenger. The message, you can't kill it. You could kill the messenger, but the truth still stands.
Yeah. I said a word earlier. I said buck breaking.
Buck breaking. Ooh.
I said that word earlier. Now, especially with the Jerry Jones situation that just popped up, right? They found that picture of him.
Yeah. I heard about that.
Mm. Now let's just compare him to Kyrie. Are we picking and choosing who we buck break right now? And first off, can you explain the meaning of buck break?
Okay, so buck breaking is when during times of slavery they would take a male and they would force him to have sex with another male. Force, right? And it was for the master's pleasure to see this. Now, if you're heterosexual at that time, and most people are, people think that everybody is, into a specific lifestyle. I think a lot of people are accommodating it, but it's still only 2.5% of the population. So if we use those numbers, 98% of men and women are heterosexual. And if you are forced to perform a homosexual act on another person that is also heterosexual, that does something to you psychologically. It breaks your spirit to be violated in such a way. No man that has ever been to prison that has been raped in that specific area of his body like that multiple times will ever tell you that it was a pleasant experience. Psychologically, it does something to you when something like that were to happen. And so it was a form of psychological sadistic torment by the slave masters in front of their families. And these are oftentimes men who are in front of their families just to break the spirit of the wife and the kids, to basically say, if you ever go out of line, this is what's going to happen. I'm going to make an example out of you. I'm going to either kill your family or you're going to have this man penetrate you from behind. So which one would you choose? I have 10 children and a wife that I love, and you're going to slaughter all of them, or I'm going to go up in that man. Which one do you think I'm going to choose? Because when people say I would never do that, I'm just going to die. So anybody that says our ancestors just didn't know anything and they just dumb and all that, nah, they were some phenomenally strong people that have to go through things like that just to preserve their families and their bloodline. But some of that still goes on today because some people like to say, I'm going to make an example out of you so that others may fear to never cross that line with me. So while it may be different today in the public, now in prison, it's probably it's still going on. Mm-hmm. It's still going on. But out here, Ime Udoka made an example of. Kyrie Irving made an example of. You can't make an example of the person who makes examples of others.
Yeah.
In the case of Jerry Jones, because in his case, he's a part of the system, some would say, right? So no, LeBron James, I don't like him as a player at all. This is my man right here. However, this individual was not as outspoken on racial issues and things in our community as LeBron James. So from a community standpoint, from a civic standpoint, LeBron James was on point for calling out the media, saying, on one hand, you're calling out Kyrie, who just posted a link to some conspiracy video, like all of y'all do on social media with all the memes and stuff like that from Egypt and Africa and all that. And Jerry Jones is sitting in the background talking about this.
And that's exactly how he looks.
And he got a team that's full of black players.
Yeah.
And I noticed them black players ain't stopped running as they beat the devil out of Indianapolis Colts. All of them still gonna get their check. Mm-hmm. But Kyrie loses an endorsement.
A lot of money.
So it's all about who's really in power, right?
Yeah.
It's really about who holds in power. And if a whole bunch and the truth be told, if all of the NFL players stop playing for Cowboys right now today, there will be some people be like, well, that wasn't me. And they will all play for him because they're going to get that money.
Because one of the things that they said, man, it was like when Cap was doing all the kneeling and stuff, no Dallas Cowboy ever did anything to support that. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, Jerry Jones he put his foot down in there, but at the same time he cutting the check. And it's like, does that make it to where we don't have to say nothing about him? Or is he exempt? But it's just like, well, when you look behind those closed doors, what code is he a part of?
The only thing, sometimes you have to outlive people. And I believe, honestly, there's some people in this world only God can take care of.
Yeah.
And I believe that those players, they probably have personal feelings, but he's the owner. I've just played for the team. Yeah. I'm not, what the owner does is separate from what I'm doing. I'm just trying to feed my family. I don't believe that. So sometimes you got to separate that. And black folks, sometimes we need to kind of check ourselves when it comes to always having to have an opinion on something without skin in the game. Because we love to tell people what they're supposed to do with their lives without any finances, like the Jackson State University stuff. There's so many preachers that can relate to Deion Sanders. Because pouring out all of our resources, but you only want to give a little bit, but yet you want to have maximum say so over all of the affairs. But only minimum investment. Only 13% of alumni from Jackson State poured back into the university. That means 87% didn't do anything, and it's been going like this for years. I don't know how much of FAMU, but it's probably the same thing.
Yeah.
So we're looking for saviors, but we don't want any skin in the game. We want to watch Jesus go to the cross, but we don't want to be like Simon and help him carry the cross.
See, and you touching nerves out here today, ain't you?
Oh boy.
Let's see. All right. So one word I got right here is objective truth. When I say that, what does that mean to you?
Objective truth is there is no nuance in the answer. So if somebody were to ask me, is Jesus God? I would say yes, because that is objectively the truth. It's not Jesus may be God or Jesus is one of the gods. He is God, and there is only one God.
Yeah.
Right? So objective truth is another example of objective truth. 1 + 1 = 2. In our postmodern relativistic society, some people would say 1 + 1 may equal 2 to you, but it doesn't mean equals 2 to me. Right? Because the way that we do math is different from the way that you do math. But 1 + 1 still equals 2, no matter what universe that you're in.
Yeah.
And there was only one universe, by the way, about the multiverse type theory, right? So objective truth is the truth despite opinions, politics, culture, race, how you feel, where you from, what you endorse, what color you are.
Yeah.
1 + 1 = 2.
And that's it.
That's it. It's not what I say versus what you say. Facebook is full of opinions. But the truth is independent of all that. That's what objective truth is.
Yeah.
So biblically, the biblical narrative is focused more on is about objective truth. There are stories in there that talk about people who play with the truth, however.
Do you, and just like you said, play with the truth. Do you think that nowadays people are just trying to create their own version of the truth?
Yes, it is what I would call Gnosticism. Gnosticism, not atheism. Gnosticism, I believe, is the fastest growing religion, the religion of nuns. This is where you believe in a higher power, but it's unidentifiable. You know that there's something there, but you create your own way to get to it. Whether it's rosary beads and some liquor at the same time.
I see what you're saying.
Some weed and some, incense.
Yeah.
And some crystals. Plus you have the Bible in your hand. So you're mixing all these faiths together to come up with a customized faith. That's why it's Gnosticism, and that's why groups like Masonic or Masonry are so appealing to Gnostics, because that's what the G means. It was told to me that G meant God.
I thought the G meant like geometry.
No.
Like balancing life.
No. And so without getting all deep into that, I thought it was all about God, because that's how I was brought in. It said, yes, it does mean God to you, but it doesn't have to mean God to me. Because in order to be a Mason, you could be, you only have to be a believe in God. So no atheist would be allowed to be a Mason. However, anybody that believe that there is a God can be a Mason. Hindus believe that Shiva is God.
Yeah.
So there's several religions that believe that there's some higher power. So that means it's ecumenical. That means that there's it's a big tent. But sometimes you need to peek and see who's in the tent.
Yeah.
Everybody don't need to be in the tent. So it was very appealing. So Gnosticism basically means that you have one pane of glass that's applicable to everybody. Right? Yep. And a lot of people, I know this is going to be hard, but it's the truth. Sometimes on the Democratic side, politically speaking, as far as when you look at the tenets and things of that nature, they have a big tent type of philosophy to where it's come as you are, be who you are, do whatever you want. It's your thing, do what you want to do. And truth is not necessarily something that is objective, honestly speaking, right? So if there is no morality, if there's a separation between church and state, then I can have a Bible in one hand and support abortion at the same time, like Raphael Warnock. Because according to politics, you have to be all things to all people.
Yeah.
And you have to have a big tent mentality. And so we're going to have blacks, liberal whites, Jews, people who are of a different lifestyle, all of these people up under one big tent because our target is the Christian white male. Not even realizing Christianity is a part of that as well.
Yeah.
So that big tent, everybody up under one group type of thing is appealing to people who are Gnostics, because that means that I don't have to appeal to any standard.
Yeah.
And as I close, this is the reason why a lot of people know about hypocrites and know about the Pharisees. If there's anything most secular people know about biblically about Jesus and who he went against, it was the Pharisees. And these are the people who are religious and claim to be for God, but they act a totally different way. But that was not the only group that Jesus talked against. Because a lot of times they'll associate people who are Republican with being Pharisees or Pharisaic. They know the law, but they far from it. But on the opposite side of that, you have the liberal wing of the Pharisees too. They were called the Sadducees. These are the people who wanted the power of being in church. They liked the atmosphere, but they didn't follow any of the tenets. The Pharisees wanted to follow all the laws to see how good you are. The other side, the Sadducees, didn't care about none of the laws. They just cared about status. So this is how you can have a politician like Bill Clinton in the middle of a church, and then black people vote for him ferociously while he is committing adultery with his wife, and explain it all the way and say it just depends what is.
Yeah.
When you have a moving goalpost of morality, then you can't stick with anything. That's why nobody's taking all of the grandstanding of morality so important, and that's why Herschel Walker didn't just get blown away because of all this indiscretions. Because we have now said that indiscretions is just who we are.
Yeah. So like,
let me be myself.
And you kind of already was kind of like touching on it, but like I got religion down here and the different teachings. Like, so we're in church right now.
Mm-hmm.
We practice what, Christian faith.
Mm-hmm.
When I say religion, what's all bundled up in religion?
Well, let's first of all define what religion is. Religion, in the classic sense, is a set of rules and practices and rituals one must follow in order to be in alignment with some form of higher power or deity.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what a religion is. Now, I would submit to you that biblically, Jesus never taught Christianity. He never taught that you must do certain things in order to have a relationship with God. When Jesus taught, he taught actions that a person does who has a transformed heart. That's what Jesus did. Jesus didn't teach religion. He was the embodiment of the gospel. What separates Christianity from all other faiths, and I'm talking about biblical Christianity. I'm not talking about, because there's Christendom, and when you talk about Christendom, you talk about Catholics, Roman Catholics, you talk about Jehovah's Witnesses, you talk about even Hebrew Israelites, because they also use the Bible as well. There's even Mormons. All of them, in some form or fashion, use the Bible.
Yeah.
So, to the outside world, they are like in the classification of somebody who's a Christian or somebody who follows the Bible, right? Follows the Bible. But whenever I ask a secular person, when they say, you know, religion is not good and religion is just terrible and Jesus is this, that, I was like, what did Jesus teach that is detrimental for anyone? What type of religion did Jesus teach?
Yeah.
Jesus didn't follow Christianity because a founder doesn't need to be a follower. So he doesn't have to follow Christianity. He was the embodiment of what the Christian faith. If you ever want to know what the Christian faith is, it is Jesus. What he did and what he came to do. Who is he? He is God. What did he come to do? To save those that are lost. To love God and to love people. So Jesus just really taught just two things. How to love God with all your heart, soul, and strength, and how to love people. What tenet or what prayer or what ritual do you have to follow in order to do any of those things? Nobody can ever answer that question. All the Pharisees and Sadducees just walk away when they ask that question because nobody could pinpoint it. What did Jesus teach you that you were supposed to follow? Yeah. Love one another. Well, there has to be some type of formula to that. There is no formula because no one can be a Christian unless God make you one. He has to save you first. So here's the distinguishing element of what makes Christianity or the Christian faith different. Not Christianity, because that's too broad of a term. The biblical Christian faith different from all of the other religions. All of the other religions, all 3,000, 30,000 of them, do this one thing that's different from the Christian faith. Every single one of them, whether it's from Buddha, Muhammad, all of them are works-based righteousness, including Roman Catholicism. You have to do something, indulgences, rosary beads, some type of ritual, praying to Mecca, some type of... You have to do something in order to get closer to God.
Yeah.
Some form of penance, something that you have to do, something from human effort that you have to do in order to get closer to God. And that's how there's division sometimes within religions. These people did more of a ritual following than the others, so therefore they're leaders.
Yeah.
But in the Christian faith, everybody is equal. Because no one is qualified to go to heaven without a Savior. All of the religions are as man reaching up to God. The Christian faith is God reaching down to men with his Son. So there is no ritual in Christian faith that makes you a Christian. Baptism doesn't make you a Christian. It is God himself that makes you one. So for those of you that were in church for all this time, you walked away, God never touched you. You may have been disillusioned from the church, but I always say this: you can't walk away from somebody that you love. You could distance yourself from those that claim to follow God, but you can't walk away from Jesus. You can't walk away from God. You can't walk away from the church if you don't love Jesus.
Yeah.
If you love Jesus. If you love him, you want to be around.
So we comment from your wife.
Okay.
Work-based religion versus relationship with Jesus. Can you touch on that?
Okay, so works-based righteousness means in order for me to follow this religion, I must do this. Demonstration, please.
That's tough.
And if I do this a whole lot, that means that I got a good relationship with my deity. Because my deity is the deity of the circling hat and patting foot. Yeah. You know? And if I do this really, really good, then that means that I'm really a devout follower. Yeah. But so that's works-based righteousness. You have to do something in order to be right before God. You got to prove yourself. You got to do something. And as humans, we feel comfortable with religion because if I do a good, that's why sometimes atheism is appealing, because if I'm smart and I'm intellectual, then I can separate myself from you dumb people because I know more. But when God, in the person of Jesus Christ, tells you that your money doesn't mean anything, how smart you are means nothing, and there are no such thing as good people, because my standard is perfection, following the 10 Commandments perfectly throughout your entire life is the only way that you can get to God. That means that every person on the planet is disqualified. So following the 10 Commandments is not going to get you closer to God. So works-based righteousness is you doing something in order to have a relationship with God. But what is the other part?
A religion with Jesus. A
relationship with Jesus is more relational. Jesus knows that you are off the chain with your crazy self. As some would say, backbiting, whoremongering, gasoline draws on your way to hell, drinking, smoking, partying, preaching, teaching at the same time, issues galore out in the streets, for the streets, anger in your heart, but faithful to your family, right? So we got one good area of our life, but the other area is lacking. Everybody on the planet fits that category. But having a relationship with Jesus is where, because of the purity of God, he transforms who you are. When you follow religion, you transform who God is.
He said something right there, didn't
You make God into your image and likeness when you follow religion. But when you have a relationship with Jesus Christ, help me, Holy Ghost, his purity transforms who you are.
he? Yeah.
His purity. And when you are jacked up, you are gravitating towards that pure light, and it does something to you. And that's why grace is so important. Grace is absent in works-based righteousness.
Yeah.
There's no room for error. If you make a mistake or you start tripping, in many religions, you got to do something in order to get on God's good side. That's the reason why the Old Testament was so rough when it came to following God, because you had to carve up bulls and goats and rams and burnt offering. They said that they used to carve up so many lambs on the temple that the blood would stream down into the Kidron Valley and made those streams red, because the priests atoning for the sins of the people. And they had to do this every single year. But Jesus only had to sacrifice one time. But when you follow religion, you have to do sacrifice every single year, because the sins of the people were never ending.
It's like you you touch on so much, man, and you hit it like right there. And it's like I never really looked at it like that, you know. And it's the sayings that popped in my mind. So I had a friend, and we used to always say, right, if you do something crazy, you'd be like,
can you give me that water real quick?
I'd be like, I know why you did that, you know what I'm saying? Because you ain't right with God yet. You gotta get right with God.
You got to get right with God, yeah.
And then like even
You need that.
no, I'm good.
Oh, good.
People would say you got to get right with Jesus. You know what I mean? Like your relationship with Jesus is this is what I'm been slowly starting to realize, that your relationship with Jesus or your relationship with God is very important, and it kind of dictates how your life is going to move.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when you are not right with God, you feel it.
Yeah.
You feel it. You know what I mean? And it's just like you say with the religion thing, man. I think a lot of people is chasing religion versus chasing the relationship.
And if you have a relationship, what rule do you follow in a relationship? My wife and I, we have so many unwritten rules between each other. We care for each other, and in our relationship has grown. It's also tested. There's certain times when I act the fool. There's certain times when she does. We express it in our different ways, but yet we're still together.
Mm-hmm.
If I made a mistake and she divorced me instantly, then that's not a relationship. That's one born out of fear. And you have a lot of people who believe that the only reason why people go to church is because they're fear of hell. Or the preachers just talk about hell every single Sunday in order to make you give up your money so that you can buy your ticket. 2 tickets to paradise. That's not how it is. We don't come to church because of fear of hell. We come to church because we just love God. And love is the motivation, not fear.
That's very true, man. Like, I think a lot of people, especially you see it when you're like in jail. People go to jail, and what's the first thing they do? Oh, I done found God.
Mm-hmm.
But when you get out of jail and the world hits you, you start to revert back.
And here's the reason why. You, listen to me closely, y'all. Listen to me closely. You cannot find God. When you try to find God, you have religions. Religions is man's attempt to get to a God that they do not know. That's the reason why there's so many religions on the planet, even prior to Judaism. Because we knew that there was something up there, we just didn't know how to get to it. An undescribable feeling saying that there's somebody that's in control of all of this. So let me come up with something creatively that I thought up in order to get in contact with that. Not even realize you're not contacting God, you're contacting the evil one and his followers. Every religion that does not lead to God leads to a demonic influence. And that's harsh to say. It seems like that's so exclusive when you talk about the Christian faith. But why would God make things so confusing?
Yeah.
If you have 4 supervisors and all of them were equal, which one would you listen to? Are all of them right? That's objective truth.
Yeah.
Only one of them could be right.
Yeah.
You can't have 3 mamas. You can't have 3 daddies. You could only have 1 mama and 1 daddy. 1. You can make up something different on your end, but is that the truth objectively on the opposite end? So God sees all of these people trying to get in contact with him, but he says, you know what? I got a better plan. Since y'all are not good at this at all, let me send down something that is so simple that will take care of all of it for you. Here's Jesus. So people don't find God, God finds them. We hate God by default. Nobody wants to come to church by default. That unsaved relative will never feel comfortable coming to church, because why would I come to a place where you are highlighting what I feel comfortable with and you call a sin on a regular basis? The only way I would want to come to a church or any church that's preaching the gospel is that I appreciate conviction, because I'm transforming my life and I want to get better. Even when I get called out, even when I get exposed, because that's the nature of my relationship with God.
Yeah.
It changes. It's sometimes up, sometimes down. Religion makes you feel condemned. I don't want to come to church because, man, there's too many rules in there. But a relationship says, you know what? I know what God's standard is. And even though I'm tripping right now, he still loves me even in the middle of my mess. A bishop made it this simple. There's a difference between a sheep and a goat, or a sheep and a pig. Pig represents sin and a sinful person. Sheep struggle with sin. Pigs wallow in sin. If you are a sheep, which denotes a person who follows the Lord Jesus as our great shepherd, if you got struggles and you struggle with that thing, and it bothers you, it bothers your conscience, you toss and turn. Every time you close your eyes, you toss and turn. Candle ticks in the dark, seems like somebody's being burned. If you like that in the middle of the night, 4 walls just staring at you, paranoid, sleeping with your finger on the trigger, all that type of stuff, and you just know that it ain't right, and you know you got to do better, and it's bothering your conscience. You got to smoke something in order to absolve your conscience, and you know God is, hey, you ain't no pig. But if you out there juking because they looking, you tricking, and you ain't blinking an eye, none of that stuff, and you ain't worried about God and all the other stuff like that, and you are not struggling in sin. When I was in the world, I did not think about going to church. It did not make me feel guilty because people went to church on the Sunday morning. I was getting over my hangover.
I'm recovering.
I'm good. And that comfort is because you belong to not God, but the devil himself. The devil always makes his children feel comfortable.
Yes, he does.
But when you belong to God, when you're in the world of sin, you're always in a state of discomfort. You're just like, man, I wish I could just go to heaven just to get some relief.
Yeah, you feel it.
You feel it.
You feel it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like this world, man. I used to always tell my mom and my boss when I was working at the school, I would be like, I feel safe here and I feel safe here, because the minute I go out into there, it's like life is just like wow, you know what I mean? Because it's just so much sinful ways and sinful things out there in the world, and unless you're like in tune, you really don't see it, and sometimes you miss it and you run right into it, you know. And for me, it's like when you sit back and you observe, it's just running all through. It's just, you know what I mean? And the more I get in tune with God, the more He shows that to me.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like a lot of times you have a restraint now. It's just like that little leash on you now. You know?
Yeah.
Like before, like you said, I would go to the club and I'm juking in the club and I'm doing my thing in the club. Now Saturday night, Friday night, I'm realizing like by 10 o'clock I'm at the crib.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because the conviction's different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but Lady Martin, she said, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through me.
That makes it exclusive, not inclusive. Religions. Okay. Yeah, it's almost time. Our producer said it's almost time to go. So in conclusion, as we kind of cap out right here or whatnot, we need to understand that, cults are a result of someone having a personal revelation about something that has already been defined. They come up with some new thing and twist the scriptures for their own gain. Conspiracy theories come from out of people who are seeking the truth, but it's, as the scripture says, you're constantly seeking knowledge but never arrive to the truth. There's a large group of people, the largest religion that's out there, which is Gnosticism, is people who are seeking knowledge but never arrive to the truth. In the scriptures, you will find eternal life, but on your own, you're just finding another ritual for you to follow that separates you as being special when God has called all of us sinners. Blanket statement. So Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, as I conclude my final remarks. And no one goes to the Father but by him. There's many ways to Jesus, but only one way to God. There's not many ways to God. God wouldn't make this world so confusing. Man makes it confusing. Well, what about all those people, all religions? Hey, don't worry about it. That's not our business. God knows perfectly how to deal with individuals that are from different religions. And the Christian faith and Jesus has saved people of every single religion, every single faith, every ethnicity that's out there. So don't worry about that. That's God's business. You do what you need to do. You preach the gospel. You be a person that walks in the faith and try to demonstrate what Jesus has done in your life before others. But you leave those complex things up to him. There's answers, but I believe that there is only one God. And it is the God of the Bible. I believe that there's only one way to God, and that is through Jesus Christ. I do not believe all other religions are right. I only believe that Jesus is right, and he is the right way. All right, everybody. Well, what else am I supposed to say? Am I supposed to say, no, I don't think so? No, I love God. I would not be preaching all of this time if I did not believe that. And I don't have, and here's another news flash, I don't have to lead a perfect life in order for me to follow God. So am I a hypocrite sometimes? Yes. But I know one who isn't, and that is Jesus. He's a standard. All right, everybody. Well, I hope and pray that this extended session was a blessing to you. Our producer in the back said it was time to go. He put up that one finger. You put up that Baptist Mississippi finger. All right. And I have not eaten all day. So when I get to the house, I need to eat because I've been on a fast. And I went overtime on this, but it was such a good session.
Yeah, this was.
Hopefully, as my producer at the house, I didn't run. Hopefully, Mrs. Martin, I didn't run my mouth too much. Hopefully, I let Boogie talk a little bit more this time.
Nah, you did good, man.
I did good this time.
Yeah, man, because like at the end of the day, it was a wealth of information.
All right.
And I believe it was a lot of stuff that, like, even like cults and conspiracies, like we went all the way over here, but it all rounded up to one thing.
Yeah.
And it all made sense. And for me, like I was sitting here and in my mind, it was like this man really got me thinking about a lot.
Yeah.
But that's what it was. You challenged the mind, and then we need that.
Good night, everybody. Good night. Good night. Hopefully, we were able to challenge you too. Be blessed.
Be blessed. Nah, you did, man. That was good.
Oh yeah.
That was good.
There's. I mean, we might have to do a part 2 when it comes to conspiracies and whatnot because